Man, this even translates ancient languages no one uses anymore. Most other apps don't do that. Oh, oh man. Okay, I reviewed a fan game, a ROM hack, and now a canceled game. What's next? Japanese imports? But in all seriousness, Dinosaur Planet was a late Nintendo 64 game that eventually became Starfox Adventures for the GameCube. As for why it became Starfox Adventures, that's a story for when I talk about that game, but I am looking at this today because a late build of the game was leaked online via Twitter months back, and I have wanted to talk about this game, so without further ado, let's dive right in.
The story is what's drastically been changed in the transition. In fact, I would say it has dropped almost entirely, but here's how the initial story was planned to go. According to what I've played of the ROM and what other people have salvaged, the game opens up with Crystal, who is a purple vixen riding a pterodactyl, which in this game are called Cloud Runners, to look for the Cloud Runner princess named Kite, and ended up finding her on this airship, in which she then meets General Scales of the Sharpclaw tribe, who introduces himself as the main antagonist of this game and intends to take over the planet. General Scales gets struck by lightning and teleports out. Crystal parks the airship at Warlock Mountain and, well, can't free Kite from her cage. Crystal goes to meet Randorn the Wizard for assistance, in which Crystal is also the adopted daughter of. Randorn goes to tell Crystal the history of Dinosaur Planet. In the very beginning of time, a race known as the Krazoa ruled Dinosaur Planet as well as much of the universe outside of the planet. In a battle between the Krazoa and, well, their opposition was not specified at this time. The Krazoa are now extinct because of this battle, and much of the universe was destroyed as well. But after this destruction, the great Chimerian dragon, which is the dinosaur god, created this world? Wait, was this planet a pre-existing one before it became Dinosaur Planet, or is this a brand new planet that the Chimerian dragon created? That part was not clear, but moving on. Dinosaur Planet lived in a time of peace until General Scales came along. The king of the Earthwalker tribe, which are Triceratops, discovered a sacred place in which he suspects there's more to the planet's history. Or maybe this entire story is a lie, who knows. Randorn then sends Crystal to Discovery Falls, but is interrupted by a swap stone, which in gameplay you use to swap between Crystal and Saber through the Swap Stone brothers. Saber, okay, in this build of the game he's actually Fox McCloud, indicating this stage of the game is now in the transition of being a Star Fox game, but I'm going to refer to him as Saber, even though he's Fox now. Saber is a royal knight of the Lilat system? Hold on. Saber is a royal knight from the planet Animus and is the son of Randorn the Wizard. He rescues Tricky, the prince of the Earthwalker tribe, returns Tricky to his mother, and his mother tells Saber about the Force Point temples, which extract the planet's energy source from within the planet and is distributed. In other words, think of it like oil being extracted from our planet Earth, or if you're a Final Fantasy VII fan like I am, think of it like Mako. The Force Point temples were shut down because Scales planned to use the resources for evil. However, an emergency shutdown mechanism was triggered because the planet was in danger, which is why you, the player, will collect spell stones, as they are the keys to unlocking the power of the Force Point temples. Back to Crystal's adventure, she rescues Kite from the shark claws. After that, she goes to Discovery Falls, acquires a Krazoa spirit, and returns to Randoran in Warlock Mountain. The spirit introduces itself as,
I am Kwan Atalachu, first spirit born, 1 star of 8.
The spirit is one of many, and I may have called it a Krazoa spirit, but the Krazoa actually worship these spirits. You collect them because
It is only by the will of life that the spirit can bring peace.
Okay, don't get it, but moving on. And really, after this point, the story just swaps back and forth between Saber and Crystal collecting spellstones and spirits, until Drakor comes into the picture. Drakor is actually the mastermind, not General Scales of this entire game. Drakor is a Chimerian dragon, meaning he's the dinosaur god, right? More on that in just a bit. Drakor explains that the Chimerians did not start the war with the Krazoa and so that's who the Krazoa were fighting. Saber argues that if Drakor defeats the Krazoa, Drakor will destroy Dinosaur Planet, which collecting the spirits makes more sense now. But Drakor does not care about the dinosaur race? Even though the dinosaurs believed in the Chimerian dragon and worship the Chimerian heart as a god? I'm sorry, where did the Chimerian heart come from all of a sudden? Saber also argues that the Krazoa spoke of peace even if Saber were to believe the Krazoa were bad. However, Drakor argues in return that all the spirits combined would make an ultimate weapon of destruction for the universe, and Drakor intends to stop them even if the entire dinosaur race gets wiped out. And unfortunately, with as much research as I did, I could not find out how this game ends. Gotta keep in mind, this build of the game is not finished, and if you have questions about anything I just said about the story, well, I told everything I was able to find, whether it was me playing it, Google searches, or Let's Play of other YouTubers. I find it to be a bit of a shame that this story did not make it into Starfox Adventures because I liked seeing what was initially planned and I just wish they tweaked what they had to make it work with the Starfox universe instead of dropping 95% of the story in the final product. Crystal has a better role in this game than she did Starfox Adventures. Drakor looked like he would have been an awesome villain with an awesome design for his character, and his motive for the story was pretty interesting. That, and he looks more intimidating than General Scales, unlike the one-off boss fight with no backstory in Starfox Adventures. The world building is also gone in the final product, although if I had to critique this story, General Scales has a very cliched motive, making me not impressed with him as a villain, so As for Saber, in this stage of the game, it did not look like they were finished writing his character. And I know this will make some people angry, but I gotta say, I like Fox McCloud better, to be honest. I did see that there were cheat codes to swap out Fox with Saber, but for me, a character swap would not make the game 10 times better. Overall, pretty good story, even though it was not finished and there are still, well, a few wrinkles to iron out. Like, I heard Randoran was supposed to die, but did not find that in my research. Better story than the final product, in my opinion. Unfortunately, I could not beat this game, so I will only be talking about the basics of the gameplay. Dinosaur Planet is basically a Zelda game where you play as two characters that you swap via the Swap Stone. Not Breath of the Wild Zelda, but rather Ocarina of Time Zelda. In combat, Saber uses a sword and Crystal uses a staff. You also acquire new abilities as you progress the adventure. These two characters also have their own sidekicks. Saber has the Prince of Triceratops, Tricky, and Crystal has the Princess of Pterodactyls, Kite. I'm not trying to put down Star Fox Adventures. In fact, I love Star Fox Adventures, and while I did not like how Crystal's role was reduced to a damsel in distress, Crystal and Saber are way too similar to each other, I find, which makes having two playable characters redundant in this build. Also, Tricky and Kite have the same abilities too, only Kite flies around, and while technically you can swap between the two at any time, the game will have you alternate between the characters after story progression. For example, you have to progress the story with Crystal before going back to Saber for Tricky to learn his fire breath. Then you have to go back to the other character to progress the story and then keep alternating, so the game is still told in a very linear fashion, which would be a missed opportunity to make the game a little less linear if the game was released. The big difference between these two characters are the places they go. If you've played and beat Star Fox Adventures, there are actually not too many surprises here. You fight Galden in Dark Eye's Mines, which is where I stopped playing because the game glitched out on me and I could not progress. You also do the gas chamber puzzle in Cape Claw. You disguise yourself in Cloud Runner Fortress, and the places that were cut in the final game were Discovery Falls and Diamond Bay. Don't get me wrong, I got addicted to this game and thoroughly enjoyed it. However, the farthest you could play without hacking or using cheat codes or bypassing important moments that crash are the first hour or so. I had to use the internet a lot for cheat codes, and I also had to watch Let's Plays, in which the furthest I've seen someone progress as well. I've seen gameplay of the Walled City and glimpses of the final boss with Dracor. And well, someone managed to salvage most of the cutscenes from what I can tell.
I'm glad I got to play this to satisfy my curiosity as to what Star Fox Adventures was going to be and what could have been. I will be honest though, I do not think Dinosaur Planet would have been that much better than Star Fox Adventures. Although I will admit, I had the biggest, goofiest grin on my face getting to play as Crystal past the prologue. I remember having dreams when I was younger about playing as her in Star Fox Adventures past the prologue, of course, and well, that's a reality now. Kind of, but I do wish they tweaked the story to fit into the Star Fox universe rather than just dropping 95% of it. And with that being said, I will not be giving this game a score, but if they do release this game officially, I will be sure to remake this video. With that being said, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Thank you, and have a nice day, or night, wherever you're at, and take care.